And postmenopausers. So listen, today I want to talk about something that can get kind of brushed under the rug and we don't want to talk about it as much, or you may let it go a little bit longer than you probably should have. So before I get into it, let's talk about kind of how you feel and some of the things that can be happening before we get to this next topic. So many of you may say that, you know what, I went to the doctor and they did this hormone panel and they said I was fine, but I just don't feel fine. Or my hormones, they say it looks good, but I just don't feel good. And you really can't get any answers and you start to feel like, hey, something's wrong with you. So I want everybody to know who's listening. First of all, nothing's wrong with you. Just because hormone panels are in range, right? It doesn't negate that you feel what you feel, and it doesn't mean that everything is great. Not true. Oftentimes, things can be really not great, but you're going to show in range. And in range, because remember, if you are in this stage of perimenopause and then clearly in post, but this is really for those of you who are in perimenopause, your hormones will show in range because the range is so broad. The range itself is so large. And as you're in perimenopause, you're starting to see the numbers drop, but they're supposed to. So of course it's going to show in range, but it's super important that you get the right resources and you're able to speak to somebody who is paying attention to the symptoms that you have and not just about it being in range. The hormone panel is great, especially for those who are post-menopause, because it actually can share if your testosterone is starting to get too low, or if your estrogen and progesterone are just like in the toilet, like especially your progesterone, if it's like in the toilet and it's like, whoa, zero, right? You're having a big problem. But this is where it can really kind of pinpoint, do you need additional support? Like clearly, medically, we need support. Example, someone's testosterone can be so low that it is flagging, right, in someone, and they need to get some injections or they need DHEA, they need something. But oftentimes what I'm hearing from my ladies is that your hormone panels are fine. And again, they are going to show fine for many people, but it doesn't negate that you're experiencing hot flashes or that you have brain fog or you're constantly just not feeling like yourself. Maybe you're finding yourself lethargic, very low energy, super low sex drive. You may even be finding that your skin is itching or you have vertigo. You could be experiencing significant digestive concerns. You may be starting to feel, pain during intercourse. So it's super important that you don't just think because the hormone panel says I'm good, that you really are good and it's just in your head. No, you want to be able to address the symptoms that you are feeling. So you always want to be able to talk to your doctor about what exactly you're feeling and get with somebody who is listening to how you feel and not just what the numbers say, because there are things that can be done. And oftentimes there is something that needs to be done. And sometimes you need to be able to make the call on, is it the lifestyle? Are there things that you can do from a lifestyle standpoint first? Or do you truly need or just want some type of hormone support? Because there's so many options in today's world. So make sure that you are getting all of the information and really talking through it. All right. So the thing that kind of gets swept under the rug and you may be dealing with it a little bit longer than you want it to is that low sex drive or either vaginal dryness or a lot of pain during intercourse, sex, whatever term that you like. Sometimes it's hard to tell whoever your partner is that it's uncomfortable without someone thinking that you're not into it, right? Or you're just trying to kind of let that go, or you don't want anybody to know because you're just not sure what's going on. You truly are maybe a little baffled at what is happening. One of the signs that, you are in perimenopause for a lot of people is that the vaginal walls are a little bit different as you start to lose estrogen, right? When we talk about muscle mass and tissue, and you can start to lose that tissue through the vaginal canal. And so it can make sex painful because you don't have some cushion. Right? That's really what we're saying. We're missing some of that cushion, but you also can be missing fluids. So you can be dealing with moisture concerns, and then you can also be dealing with literal pain because the tissue is not as thick as it used to be kind of internally because you're losing some of it. All right. But so many women will go for very long periods of time and not tell anybody, and you'll just suffer through it. And I want you guys to know that you don't have to suffer through that because there's so many things that you can get. And I'm going to to drop some links to a few of them when I post this one today. I'm going to talk about them, but then I'm going to drop some links in it too, because there are vaginal inserts, there are vaginal creams, there are actual estrogen creams, plus there are hyaluronic creams or hyaluronic acid gels. There's so many different things you can do from a cream or something that you can insert or either apply. There's a lot of things you can do there. But then there are also tools that will mimic almost like some type of vibrator, or you may think it's a little strange, but it's a red light therapy tool. And it actually is used kind of on the outer area, but also internally, because it's helping to create that extra collagen to the area and help you regain some of that tissue that may be lost. But it's a tool that you would buy, and it's pretty popular. I've seen two different versions. So as I said, I'm going to link one of them today, but it is a red light therapy vaginal tool. And that is more of a permanent way to assist yourself in regaining some of that tissue, so we get a little of that cushion. But then there's also, as I said, several types of creams, ointments, hyaluronic serums that you can use to help recreate the moisture that you lost. And then there's other types of oral supplements that you can take to also kind of help with regaining some of the moisture as well. But it's so important that you actually just tell somebody that this is what's happening. As soon as you realize, whoa, look, this is not the same. Number two, if you are someone who never used any type of lubricant or anything like that during intercourse, you may feel like, oh, okay, maybe it's just time for me to use it. So your next step may just be using some lubricant. And if you find that, then that's not it. And what I mean is just kind of normal one that you may buy from the store. And always try to find some with better ingredients, right? There's a lot of chemicals. So try to find one that has better ingredients so that you really know what you're putting in your body or on the outer part of your body, right? Those, if you have never used them before, then that is somewhat of a first step. And then if that isn't it, that's when you're going to know, well, this is actually a little bit more. And if you're someone who has needed some type of lubricant for a while, and especially those of you who maybe had multiple births, especially multiple natural births, you may have been using some type of lubricant for a good little while. And you may be finding, you know what, that's not working. That is just not it. And is making things very painful, super uncomfortable, and you're starting to shy away from it. So this is where some of these hyaluronics, some of these other more specific, or I'm going to say more targeted ointments and creams can be to your benefit, because it can help with remoisturizing the tissue and not just that temporary, we're trying to create moisture just right now. What they're trying to do with these other hyaluronics is create moisture long term. So know that you do not have to experience it. You do not have to wait. And there are many options. So those are just a few that I just mentioned around the red light therapy tool. That is a vaginal tool. It helps with pelvic floor muscles. It also helps with the vaginal tissue. It can help with replenishing, kind of get blood to that area to help it kind of regenerate in a way so that you have that, as I said, have that tissue. It can help with moisture concerns. And then you have some of the hyaluronics. But then remember, if you are somebody who is speaking to, whether it's an endocrinologist, whether it is someone who is providing hormone therapy for specific menopause concerns, and as I said, there are a bunch of different types, whether it's creams, ointments, patches, pellets. There's so many different ones that you can have access to, very low doses, a little bit higher dose. There's so many ones that you have access to, and it's very important that you speak to someone who that is what they do every single day. And that way you can talk about what your symptoms are, what's happening to you, so that you can pinpoint what option you may think is right for you. And if you think none of those are right for you, then that's when some of these other items I have talked about may just be your better options, and you go with those. And then of course there are herbal options as well that are known to be very beneficial, i.e. things like baobab powder. And now I will tag those in the comments. Cheney root, there's something, again, cheney root, baobab powder. And then there's other types of supplements that can be very much to help with female organs. And again, I'll drop a link to one so you know what I'm talking about. But again, ladies, I do not want you to suffer in silence. You don't want sex to become something that is torturous or that you're saying, I don't want to do. But more importantly, that tissue, and if you're starting to have vaginal dryness, then you also can become more prone to yeast infections. Many of you, because of what's going on, you can also be more prone to bladder infections. So know that if you start to see some of those things happening and you're like, whoa, You may have had a bladder infection one time in your life, and then all of a sudden, in a year, you had three. These are the little things. Or all of a sudden, you haven't had a yeast infection, and say you're 47 and you haven't had a yeast infection since you might have been in college. And all of a sudden, you had two or three back to back. These are the little cues that may be telling you, hey, something is a little bit different about my body. And there's some things happening, which will cause you to prompt you to go get some things looked at. So, kind of, those are just my quick thoughts for the day. Let me know what you think about it. But again, I'm going to drop some of the links to some of the products that I'm talking about. And I want you to tell me what you think. If these are things you've experienced, what has that doctor visit look like for you? Have you not gone because you've been afraid? So let's talk about it. So I can't wait to see your comments in the chats. All right. See you soon.